Thank you very much, Chairman Burgess and Ms. Schakowsky, and members, thank you very much for holding this hearing today, Mr. Chairman. I was just looking at the memorandum, and I think it's a very appropriate topic, how the sharing economy creates jobs, benefits consumers, and raises policy questions, end of quote. A very appropriate topic, and I thank you so very much for it. As you know, Mr. Chairman, I am now the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. For several months now, we have been examining diversity among the Fortune 500 companies in America, and we realize that taking on 500 companies at one time is a daunting task, and so we have started to target the technology companies in particular. And we have found that African Americans have been largely excluded from all levels of technology. African Americans are a missing link in the tech economy, and until we see full participation in the tech economy, America will never truly unlock its full potential, and that's why I like the topic of this hearing. That's why, as part of my role as the chair of the CBC, I have focused on our efforts of increasing diversity within the technology sector. In May, the CBC launched the CBC Tech 2020, which is an initiative to bring together the best minds in the technology, nonprofit, education, and public sectors to chart a path forward to increase minority inclusion at all levels of the technology industry. The goal of CBC Tech 2020 is to achieve full representation of African Americans at every level of the industry in 5 years. Over the past few months, I have taken this message across the country and even to the heart of Silicon Valley. And now I'd like to ask just a few questions on a few of these subjects. Let me start with Mr. Beckerman. Thank you for participating, and thank all 6 of you for participating today. Mr. Beckerman, as I said, I am interested in the inclusion of African Americans and other minorities in the technology industry, both as owners and employees as well as vendors. How many companies, if you know, are members of, well, I'm sure you know, are members of your association?
36.
36. Let me write that down. 36.
I'm glad I got that one.
All right. Yeah. I've got 4 here, so I don't know how we're going to do on the other ones. Out of your companies, how many have African American CEOs, if you know?
I'd be happy to get back to you on that.
All right. Question mark. Please get back. How many have an African American on their board?
I'd be happy to get back to you with those numbers.
All right. The reason I asked the board question is because we found of the top 20 technology companies, collectively they have 189 directors, and of those 189, 3 are African American, so we are particularly interested in that as well. And do you know if any of those companies have released their diversity data? I know they do the EEO ones, but have any of these made their diversity data reports public? And now we're seeing the trend in Silicon Valley that companies are now opening up their EEO reports for the world to see, and they're making a commitment to us that they're going to work with us in trying to improve it.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing, and our companies realize there's a lot of work to be done, and they're making strides to improve. But I do think that these platforms do create a lot of opportunities, both for direct employment and the opportunities that we see on the sharing platforms that we're talking about today. But thank you for your work on this, and it's something that I know our companies are striving to do better.
I really want you to pay attention to it, and I won't call the CEO's name that I met with in Silicon, but all of you would recognize the name. He told us that there's a correlation between the bottom line and diversity, that the profits are really related to diversity and inclusion. And if you can get those two in sync, you can really grow the economy, grow the consumer base, and the company can do very well. So I look forward to working with you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.